And stop! Deborah clicked the watch as I bolted across the track's starting and finish line. How many rotations I'd done was honestly lost on me. Being a vampire meant stamina was no longer a concern, so after a certain number of circles, I started reviewing my latest work files to keep mentally entertained. These evaluations were a bit rote by now. They'd become a monthly part of my life in the fallout of my time at Tresselvend University. Deborah had a theory about the oddities of my particular form of vampirism, which were themselves fallout from an entirely different incident with the King of the West, an enormous dragon who usually cavorted around in the form of a human child, though even that shape had been growing rapidly over time. Regardless, the point was that Deborah had a notion she wanted to test, and as the vampire serving as Prudence on the Blood Council, what she wanted pretty much tended to happen. Not that she wasn't fair about it. I was being compensated for the time at a very generous rate. Still, a part of me always worried about what might happen if I ever had to go against Deborah. She was perhaps the least arrogant vampire I'd ever met, which made her careful, which in turn made her dangerous. And that was ignoring the raw power she possessed from having lived untold millennia. "Next up, jumping," she announced. For today's training, Deborah wore a tracksuit that simply had to be custom-made. It was bright green, covered in stylized fangs dripping blood. As for me, I'd shed my usual ensemble of khakis, a button-down, and a sweater vest for a t-shirt and sweatpants. Even though vampires don't actually sweat, my usual ensemble limited my range of movement, and I didn't want to accidentally rip my pants mid-test. Strolling over to the vertical jump test, which was really just a metal pole with rows of horizontal panes poking out of the top section, Deborah took her spot to watch and nodded at me to proceed. This was about as rudimentary as a test could be. I literally just hopped upward and swung my arm, moving as many of the panes as I could reach. While my mind had drifted during the run, this time I paid close attention. We had, after all, been doing these tests for several months, and progress made on this exam was especially easy to track. As I sank back down, I looked up and quickly counted the number of panes that had been moved out of position. No doubt about it, I'd jumped higher than the month before. And that was a concern. Not a problem, per se, just an oddity that had to be accounted for. When vampires drank parahuman blood, the boost they got from it was temporary. More blood would grant greater boosts in power and time to a limit, but eventually the effects always ran out. That was why vampires had to constantly hunt their prey, be it human or parahuman, to keep their stomachs and powers replenished.